Hello and welcome to Patriots in Action. I'm Louise Baker with the Republican Women of Baltimore County. With me tonight is Jeff McDonald, founder and president of the Patriot Club of America, and Katie Swim, who is Republican Women of Baltimore County's newly appointed Education Committee Chair. Welcome, you two. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So this is an essential and necessary conversation that centers around two specific books found within our Baltimore County public school system. The books are entitled Genderqueer and Lawn Boy and are raising all kinds of controversy here and across the country. Some would even consider these books to be pornographic, and clearly there's a level of indoctrination of our children going on. So first of all, Jeff, I want you to tell people watching your role with the Patriot Club of America and what that's all about.
Thank you, Louise. I am president and, as Louise said, founder of the Patriot Club of America. During the lockdowns, when we were sick and tired of the unconstitutional behavior of not only our state government, but obviously our federal government, a group of us started meeting in someone's basement, and the club has flourished to now we typically get between 100 and 150 people per meeting, and our email list has grown to more than 2,000.
And Katie, what about Republican Women?
Well, I am very proud to be a part of Republican Women of Baltimore County. We are the biggest chapter in Maryland with about 250 members. I just recently in November got appointed to Education Committee Chair. I attend board meetings, report on those, make sure that the school officials are doing what they're supposed to be doing, teaching our children, and they're failing at that right now.
Okay. So why did your two clubs choose Genderqueer as one of the books to be targeted and discussed and to be worked on? Why this book?
Would you like to go first, Katie?
Sure. It is actually, Genderqueer is the most banned book in the country due to the images that are in it. It's passed off as a graphic novel about, coming of age, and it's very sexual in nature, and it has very graphic pictures that our children should not be seeing.
The Patriot Club of America has framed itself as more of an issue-oriented organization. And as Katie alluded, when we discovered that both of these books were in Baltimore County school libraries, notwithstanding the fact, Louise, both books are also in our public libraries, which means that just like in our schools, a child could wander up to these books and open them. So the Patriot Club of America decided to host an evening to explore the books. One of the meetings we had included Baltimore County State's Attorney Scott Schellenberger, who, believe it or not, Baltimore County State's Attorney Scott Schellenberger was not aware that the books were in our schools. When we, as a group, read some of the content and then showed him and I have to use the phrase illustration, there's a reason for that, he was appalled. The question was asked at the time, how is it that a book such as this, with I think the F word in it, and this is a family program, so we're not going to use the word, with the F word in the book, I don't know which one, at least 107 times, and there's illustrations of a boy performing oral sex on a man. So the question was asked, how in the world do these books get into Baltimore County schools? His answer, and especially from the perspective of the pictures.
Yeah, and I think the question was, why are they not considered pornographic?
Correct. And his answer, and there was a huge gasp in the room when he answered that illustrations are not considered pornographic. Now, he did back that up by saying that when the law was put into place, never did anyone in Baltimore County, or I think Maryland or the United States for that matter, think that books like this would be on the shelves of our county school libraries.
So, Katie, you have been trying to get in touch with Scott Schellenberger to take this topic a little further. Is that correct?
That is correct. I have tried 3 times to call the office and schedule an appointment to meet with him. Got the answering machine all 3 times once I, sifted through the directory and everything. And one lady that I got a hold of, she was not very happy to hear that I wanted to talk about books in our schools. She said, that's a county system issue. Go away. We don't want to talk about it. I haven't been able to get in touch with him yet. Still trying.
Okay.
So I think we need to dovetail on that a little bit, that Scott doesn't make the laws. It's Scott's job, obviously, to enforce the law. He is the chief law enforcer of Baltimore County. I think that from the perspective of lobbying why the books are in our Baltimore County school libraries should A, start at the school board, but B, and this is a question that we asked at the Patriot Club, what is the thought process from a procurement perspective of those purchasing books for our children, right? Our future, our children. So you're talking about now in high school. High school starts in 9th grade. What is the age in 9th grade? 13, 14 years old, right? Let's give or take. Mm-hmm. So let's think about this. And again, I'm not looking this from I'm not a prude. We're not prudes here, but holy smokes, 14 years old, and they're being exposed with our tax dollars to this kind of stuff in a learning environment. So the point being that we wanted to do a deep dive into where are the roots that someone would even consider purchasing this book or these books for our students.
So I can shed a little bit of light on that. The librarians at each of these schools have pretty much sole authority on the books that they purchase for their schools. It's based off of national awards that have come out, these books on a list, student recommendations, and then just whatever the librarian wants to be put in. Of course, it has, they say it has to adhere to school board policy, which now is really, anything can fall under that, even these books, because it's all about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that apparently now includes pornographic material, in my opinion.
So, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but the pictures, the depictions in these books are too graphic for us even to show here this evening.
That's a great point, Louise. So let's think about that a little bit and elaborate on it. So if we open these books to the camera, on the pages where there are illustrations and wherever this is going to be fed, let's just say YouTube.
I think there's illustrations on more than half of the pages.
Right. But the point is that if we put those illustrations to the camera, I think that I'd be very safe to say that within 24 hours, the post would be, not the post, but the video would be taken down because it does not meet community standards. Yet they're, again, not to be redundant, they are in Baltimore County schools.
So in December, the Republican Women of Baltimore County and the Patriot Club kind of co-authored an article that showed up in the Villager. Can you talk to me both a little bit more about that article and what the response to that article has been?
Sure, Katie.
I think I'll let you take over what it was, and I can talk about the response.
Okay.
So I was both Jolie McShane, president of the Republican Women of Baltimore County, and myself were interviewed by Michael Ruby, who is the editor of the Villager and I think the Chronicle. He interviewed me for approximately an hour, and he asked very good questions. I was very clear with my answers. The one thing that he did get wrong about the Patriot Club is we are not a Republican club. and I had to subsequently write a letter to the editor correcting him, which he did publish. And when I followed up with him, he apologized, so on and so forth. But I think I was most amazed, I don't know if it was in the Villager or in the Chronicle, and you have to wonder if these are real people or if they're just people who sit in their basement with nothing better to do. There were a couple letters to the editors basically saying, oh, I think it's great that the books are in the schools. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go buy them and read them to my children. But the majority of responses, people were shocked.
So I read the article. I refreshed my memory today. Isn't there a legal portion to this? Like, Katie, can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, so I researched Maryland law based on Patriot Club and Republican Women's experience with Scott Schellenberger, him saying that, oh, it doesn't fall under pornography. Well, it actually should fall under obscene material, which is a different term, a different section, code of Maryland law, and it should include that. Why it's still on our shelves when it violates the law, I don't know. That's why we're trying to get in touch with Scott Schellenberger. And again, those efforts have failed so far.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but even the author of Lawn Boy admits it was not written for children to read. Is that correct?
Correct. He, the author, Jonathan Evison, wrote a piece for his publisher that said he never anticipated it to be read by children. It was always meant for adult audiences, and all of a sudden it won an award and now it's in libraries. That's how things go now, apparently.
Can we elaborate, since the books are here, what award exactly?
I mean, I think the notion is that
That's one.
things that are so geared toward this kind of thing are catching so much attention, and they're just automatically getting awards because they're breaking glass ceilings of some sort, which I just don't understand.
They're, in my opinion, they're breaking the basement floor. But so this is the book, Gender Queer. And as we see on the front cover, the wonderful American Library Association has given this book, and it's a memoir by Maya Kobabe, Stonewall Honor Book. I don't see on the back that it has won any other awards. And then Lawn Boy, this wonderful little novel here. It doesn't say anywhere on this book that it's won awards. However, the wonderful Washington Post says it's full of humor and lots of hope.
Isn't there a reference in Lawn Boy to something that would be borderline pedophilia, Jeff?
Absolutely. And again, that if we elaborated on the contents of this book, that again, ladies and gentlemen, are in your children's county school libraries, most likely this viewing would be taken down because it does not meet community standards.
So it's also my understanding, an article I read recently, that National Public Radio recently had a little piece about genderqueer and some type of essay from the author. Are you familiar, Jeff?
Well, not only am I familiar with that, as we know, whether it be PBS or NPR, we're funding, right? Your tax dollars, our tax dollars are funding both PBS and NPR. Both PBS and NPR are working on curriculum based off of these types of subjects, whether it be Lawn Boy, genderqueer, the LBGT, transgenderism, so on and so forth, that will most likely be used in schools throughout the nation. So think about this. I happen to bring a couple of books. One is called Miracles in American History. And this is not your grandparents' history book. This book is fascinating to the point where, as is typical, the truth is more amazing than fiction. These books are not on our shelves, and our children are not being taught the stories of the people who made America great, yet these are, and notwithstanding the fact, we are now paying for curriculum to be produced by NPR and PBS to be funneled into our schools.
And we're also paying for children graduating from high school with the inability to read or do math.
Well, in Maryland, recently, I forget the low percentage of those that can even read at what, a fourth grade or seventh grade level? I don't know, but it's deplorable. It's a disgrace.
Well, I will say, having attended school board meetings, you will be happy to know that Baltimore County Schools is cutting the gifted and talented program in half. They have half the amount of teachers gathering curriculum for the gifted and talented students, which it's not actually funny. It's very sad. I was a product of gifted and talented classes. I was in them ever since elementary school. They did wonders for me. I ended up top 20 in my class at the end of high school. I was very proud at a time.
As you should be.
To be a product of Baltimore County Schools. And now that I see what's going on, I don't know how the students that are in the system right now are going to survive. I don't know how they're going to get into college being prepared, because they're only focused on gender identity and diversity, and they're not focused on the real subjects that we need to be focused on.
We're not preparing our children for life. And it was just a few short years ago that it was a huge honor if a Baltimore County school was considered a blue ribbon school. I think we'd be hard pressed to ride around Baltimore County now and find any school that's a blue ribbon school.
Yeah.
So again, the thought process that's going behind this has its roots in socialism and communism, because one of the first things they do is they prey on the innocents, and they turn the children against the family, and it's the breakdown of the family.
I also think it's the normalization of pedophilia.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Would you like
So
to
yes,
know?
so Katie, tell us. I know that you've been in touch with, or attempted to be in touch with Schellenberger's office.
Mm-hmm.
What other efforts have both of these clubs made to try to get some headway, to get some movement, maybe to stop some of this nonsense?
So myself, I submitted a request and a list of questions into Baltimore County Schools to review Lawn Boy and hopefully get it taken off of the library shelves. The answers that I got to my questions, since we had tried to do a review of Genderqueer, but that took 11 months to be completed. I asked why it took 11 months, and she gave me, a lot of words, but not much of an answer. So I submitted the form for Lawn Boy. Haven't heard anything about that. I will be filing Maryland Public Information Act to figure out what schools they're in, who comprised this committee that reviewed this book and said it was okay to still be on our shelves.
Okay.
I think
I was just going to say I'm a little worried now about a new series of books about Julian, who wants to be a mermaid and attend weddings, and I think that one's geared toward very, very young children, and it is in our public libraries. So
well, exactly.
concerned.
I mean, in our public libraries, we're paying for, what's it, transgender story hour or whatever it is. Yet there was I forget the guy's name. He's a Christian, and I don't know if he was on Full House or one of those.
Kirk Cameron.
Yes, Kirk Cameron was blocked from a library in Indianapolis, and they had to go through so many layers to get him to be able to do a story hour on a book that he wrote. And they ended up wanting to put him in some little obscure room on the second floor of the library. Yet, to the citizens, kudos to them, because I think that over 1,500 people showed up to hear him read his story, which again was definitely at a child's level.
Yeah. What has parents' response? You guys are out and about talking to other, parents and citizens of the county. What is do people even know this is out there?
That's a good question.
Not many of them do. Once they know what these books contain, they're appalled. I mean, they don't want their children anywhere near it. And in reference to the Villager article, some of the letter to the editor responses following Mike Ruby's article, I would say they were mixed. Some people, like Jeff had mentioned, said, "Oh, thank you for showing me a book that I need to add to my collection." The irony was, one, I assume mother, wrote that she went out, got the book, read it with her teenage children. And I was reading it, and I was like, well, you're proving my point. Children can't read this by themselves. Mm-hmm. They need an adult to supervise it, give them context, make sure that they know what this stuff is, what it means, and children shouldn't be reading it by themselves.
But wasn't that long ago, as a parent, we would have had to give permission to the schools to be discussing a lot of this stuff with our children.
Yeah.
We really would. So what else would you guys like to share before we wrap things up?
The only thing I'd like to say is the old saying, the proof is in the pudding. Ladies and gentlemen, go to your children's, your grandchildren's, your neighbors, whomever. This is your money. This is our money. These books are in our children's libraries at their school. Open one of the two. Thumb through it. Just look through it. And then try to get this is a very easy book to get a hold of. It's called The American Story. And again, as I alluded before, the stories in this book are fascinating. They're very interesting, they're informative, and they're entertaining. And ask yourself, would you want your children to read this book or to read this book? And also ask yourself, which of the two books prepares your child for life with life skills?
Anything else, Katie?
I would like, just so that we drive the point home, I would like to read a passage from Lawn Boy, if I may.
Please do.
Page 174, you'll read, "He talked about all the times at the church, but never mentioned our penises or the fact that he never said 10 words to me after our little foray in the bushes. Not a single reference to holding or tugging or sucking dicks. All I could think about while he was chatting me up was his little salamander between my 4th grade fingers rapidly engorging with blood." Now, we had talked about before also that it borders on pedophilia. The narrator of this book is about 22 or 23 years old, and he's talking about an event that happened when he was in 4th grade and the boys were 10 years old. To be talking that way as a grown narrative voice is disgusting. I don't know who talks about something when they were children like that. I mean, yeah, I think it borders on pedophilia when you look at it that way.
It's outrageous.
So, should people watching want to get in touch with the Patriot Club or RWBC, you or Katie, how do they go about doing that?
Go ahead, Katie.
You can reach out to anyone, Republican Women of Baltimore County Facebook page. I don't know.
And there's a website as well, right?
Yes, republicanwomenbc.com.
Okay. And they would get a quick response, I would imagine.
Yes.
And how about the Patriot Club?
Patriot Club is very easy. You can go to our website, Patriot Club of America, USA.com, Patriot Club of America, USA.com.
Okay. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in and sticking with us. And I hope this was informative, and I hope maybe people will start to take some action here. And thanks, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Good night.